Welcome back, grade twos. I hope you enjoyed learning how to write fractions yesterday. Now today we are going to take these fractions and talk about them because we had many chocolate bars yesterday. I hope you aren't too full. We had many of them and we broke them into different pieces. Remember, one we broke in half, another we broke in 4 parts. What about 8 parts? And I want to talk about how would we know which fraction is bigger than the other? So if we were dividing them up, how would I know if I'm going to get more chocolate if I divide it into 6 pieces, or would I get more chocolate if I divided it into 8 pieces? So we're going to compare our fractions. Now, in your package is this sheet, and it's called fraction bars at the top, okay? And what you're going to do, after I let you know what you're going to do, you're going to hit pause on the video because you need to do something before we can do our lesson for today. So you're going to find this sheet, and it has all the different fractions. Now, there's a piece, the first piece of each fraction. So each fraction bar is 1 line across. And I want you to color in the first one and cut them out. So like 1/3, color it and cut it out. 1/4, 1/9, all the way down. Color the first one and cut them out. Okay, so hit pause now and you can go ahead and do that and then come back when you're finished. Okay, welcome back. So I hope you have colored and cut out our fraction bar sheet because you need to do something with me. So I would like you to get your 1/3 piece, and I want you to get your 1/12 piece. Can you get both of those pieces that you colored and cut out for me? So here are mine. Here's my 1/3, and here's my 1/12 piece. So if I were going to give you a piece of a chocolate bar and I said, well, I have a 1/3 to give you, or I could give you a 1/12 of the chocolate bar. Who gets more of the chocolate bar? The 1/3. So we're going to circle that here. So our 1/3 is actually a bigger piece of chocolate. Now this time I want you to get your 1/10 and your 1/4 pieces. Can you get those 2 pieces? So your 1/4 and your 1/10 pieces. Now let's look at this. Okay, which one would give me a bigger piece of chocolate? The 1/4 or the 1/10? I'm going to hold them up here so you can see them. And you look at yours too. Which one's bigger? The 1/4 is bigger, right? So we're going to circle 1/4 here. Okay. Now, normally, when we are in math class and we're talking about numbers, usually a bigger number is greater. Like, for example, 12 is usually bigger than 3. But with fractions, the bottom number, the denominator, is actually telling us that the chocolate bar was broke into pieces. So if I break a chocolate bar into 3 pieces, or I break it into 12 pieces, well, the one that I broke up more, bigger number, bigger amount of pieces, the pieces would be smaller. And I hope you understood that from all your coloring and cutting out that you would see. The more I break it up, the smaller each person gets. Think about a pie. Imagine you sharing a pie with your family. Okay, so maybe you cut it in 4, 5, 6 pieces based on how many people you have in your family. But what about if you had to share that pie with all the students at DCA? Everybody would get a much smaller piece because you're going to cut it into more. Okay, so this time on the board, I'm going to list some fractions and we're going to put them in order, which would be the smallest and the biggest. So we have 1/7, we have 1/4, and we have 1/10. Now you can get your tiles if you want, which I will grab mine. 1/10 and 1/4, and I need a 1/7. I don't know where my 1/7 has gone. Okay. We will have to, I don't know where my 1/7 is, so I'm going to change this to a 1/6. Okay, can we do that? Sorry. So 1/6. Okay, so I have my 1/4, my 1/6, and I have my 1/10. Okay, so we are going to put them in order from the smallest to the biggest. So which one's the smallest? I hope you guessed 1/10. Because remember, this pie is cut into 10 pieces. What's the next one? Well, let's hold them up. And I hope you have them there in front of you. The next one would be 1/6. Because this pie is only cut into 6 pieces. So my piece would be a little bit bigger. And the biggest piece of pie would be the 1/4, because the pie was only cut in 4 pieces. So I'm going to get a lot more pie. Okay? So it actually, in fractions, it works the opposite. The biggest number, the biggest denominator, the number on the bottom, is actually the smallest. And we work our way. So the smallest is 1/10, 1/6, and 1/4. So it's actually opposite to what we normally know about numbers, 10 being bigger than 4. Okay, but that's telling us how many pieces the fraction's brought into. And then in our textbook, we have which is greater, 1/4 or 1/5? So if the pie is broken into 4 pieces or 5 pieces, which piece is going to be bigger? The 1/4, right? Because it wasn't broken into as many. And then you're going to take these fractions and put them in order. We have 1/2, so the pie is broken into 2 pieces, 8 pieces, or 5 pieces. Which would be the smallest? Can you guess? Remember, the bigger number is the smallest because it was broken into 8 pieces. This pie was only broken into 2. Imagine a whole pie, only 2 pieces broken into. So that piece would be a really big piece. That would be our biggest. Okay? So you can look at this page for these ones, and then you are going to do exercise 44 in your workbook. Have fun.